All right, so not going to lie to you guys, it does feel like at the moment that we are currently spiraling towards a potential U.S.-involved war in the Middle East right now amid skyrocketing tensions, especially after the bombing of that Al-Alsi hospital in southern Gaza just a couple of days ago. So I got a couple of different things that I want to touch on real quick here with you guys. So first of all, Biden made this trip to Israel where he basically went and did a little patty cake session with Benjamin Netanyahu and told him that he essentially fully endorses everything that Israel is doing at the moment, flattening the Gaza Strip as we speak. And it seems like as a result of that, there were some other Middle Eastern countries that border Israel that were supposed to have this summit with Joe Biden and essentially canceled on him. So we had the leader of Jordan, we had the leader of Egypt, and we had the leader of the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, who was supposed to do this whole meeting with Biden to potentially tamp down tensions in the region. And this was canceled, again, because of the actions of Israel, according to them. And so this, last-ditch effort to sort of tamp down these tensions in the region was essentially thwarted. We also had here from Benjamin Netanyahu doing his George W. Bush impression with an axis of evil speech, implicating, obviously, Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, and all the rest of them, and saying that this is a battle of civilization that the United States and the rest of Western Europe needs to get involved in. So obviously sort of preparing or setting the groundwork for a potential broader war here. We also had here from Al Jazeera, Iran warns of preemptive action against Israel amid the Gaza war. Tehran has warned that a ground offensive on the besieged Gaza Strip would be met with a response from other fronts. Obviously, I think the main indication there is a northern front from Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran. We also had this here from Jordan's foreign minister saying, quote, any attempt by Israel to forcibly displace Palestinians means war for Jordan. This is striking, given that Jordan has been one of the closest Arab states to Israel since they normalized relations back in 1994. And obviously, we've already talked about the statistics on this. Over 1 million Palestinians have already been displaced. And I guess maybe what they mean here is that if there's some sort of humanitarian corridor, so-called humanitarian corridor, right, ethnically displacing Palestinians in the north of Gaza, forcing them to flee south towards Egypt, that, if that ends up happening on a mass scale, that Jordan could get involved in this war alongside Iran and Hezbollah. We also had here, as pointed out by Jacob, the Biden administration has privately been urging Israel not to launch a military campaign against Hezbollah as Washington works to keep the current war from spreading beyond Gaza. Two officials familiar with the matter tell the Times of Israel, and he also points out that Biden officials have indicated to Israel in recent days that if Hezbollah indicates or initiates a war against Israel, the U.S. military will join the IDF in fighting the terror group. The officials say, insert meme about I will serve crack before serving this, this military or this government, right? This is what they're saying. Back to back, we have simultaneous warnings from the Biden administration, don't open up a second front against Hezbollah. And there's obviously been, massively escalating clashes between Hezbollah and Israeli officials or, military, the military apparatus of Israel in the north over the last couple of days and weeks. And basically, they're simultaneously saying we don't need a war in the north inside of Israel against Hezbollah. But also, if you get into this war, the U.S. military will apparently be joining the IDF in that fight, implicating, again, the United States directly in another war in the Middle East. We also have here, as pointed out by Shashank, he says, Israeli officials told Biden the effort to dismantle Hamas could take years. Presumably one version of that is a weeks-long ground invasion now, followed by a period of continued airstrikes and sporadic ground operations later. Otherwise, we're just talking about an occupation again. All of the above would be an absolute catastrophe, not just for the people of Gaza, but also the people of Israel and obviously the people of the entire fucking region, because, according to the statements of other surrounding countries, this would mean an all-out war or a, significant escalation from other countries that are surrounding Israel. So this is what Israel's planning right now. We also have here, as pointed out by Mario Nafal, breaking the Israeli army is preparing to move into Gaza. This is the sourcing here is Israeli Broadcasting Authority, and it looks like they're moving troops to do a massive ground offensive into Gaza when they don't even have a fucking plan for what to do, even if they successfully entirely remove Hamas from power, which, by the way, is the government of Gaza. Gaza, not just some, military outfit with a couple thousand fighters, right? That would be easy to go in and just wipe out. And they have no fucking plan for what would take place after the fact. I mean, if this is not reminding you of the United States going into Iraq, toppling the government of Saddam Hussein with absolutely no plan for what happens afterward, and then that leading to the rise of ISIS, if this doesn't remind you of that, then I have no idea what to tell you. What is this going to lead to? An indefinite occupation of the Gaza Strip again? Okay, or the replacing of Hamas with some other leadership that we know is not going to be a leadership that's secular or in favor of a two-state solution, given that, Benjamin Netanyahu himself isn't in favor of that? I mean, what is the actual plan here? Just go in and wipe out the Gaza Strip and initiate some sort of a broader war in the region that will inevitably stem from that? We also have here, again, pointing out the rising tensions in the region. More U.S. warships headed towards Israel, and 2,000 troops are on heightened alert. A look at U.S. assistance. So we've already sent, I think, 2 aircraft carriers, thousands of troops in the region. Also important to point out that, Joe Biden apparently has the authority under the War Powers Resolution of 1973 that would give him 60 days to act before Congress's approval to the use of military force. So obviously, Joe Biden could get us involved in another war in the Middle East. That would be an absolute fucking disaster, okay, without even congressional approval. Fantastic system that we have set up here. And of course, you have the United States at the United Nations vetoing a ceasefire proposal that was put to the Security Council. So, this is where we're at right now. I know that that's a lot of information, but, that's where we're at. It looks like we're spiraling towards a potential broader war in the region, and it seems like nobody in the U.S. government, outside of a handful of lawmakers and like the Squad, for example, are willing to try to step in and prevent this absolute catastrophe from happening. I don't need to tell you guys that, compare the war in Iraq and multiply it by a factor of 100 in order to get an idea of what it would look like if we get into a war with Jordan or Lebanon or Iran, especially in this region. Just an absolute clusterfuck that looks like it's inevitably on the horizon at this moment.
Everyone is saying good politic guy has the best politic. Believe me, no one does it like him. Believe me, everyone is saying